Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Written by KittyFallDown, the radio mystery that left us speechless. I'm sure this has happened to people before, but this one happens twice in a row and just made the wife and I freeze and stare blankly for a few minutes. So we often play a game in the car where we go random on the satellite radio and sing a song before it switches and randomly try to guess the artist and song. Just a stupid game that's completely random. She switched the radio station, and I'm in half the verse of a band called Submerse's song Hollow. The station changes, and it's right bang on, word for word, exactly the same place I'm singing in the song. We both just look at each other and are like, what the hell? I mean exactly the same mod point in the song. As we are kind of laughing about it, I start singing Vitamin C's, I Know What Boys Like, as a joke. The station switches and freaking bang, right dead on, in the exact part of the verse, dead on word for word again. Like seriously, what the hell are the odds of this crap? Especially with kind of obscure songs. Let alone them being in identical parts of the songs, and word for word. We just kinda looked forward and didn't say frick all for a while. My kid was in the back and kept asking if we're okay. It most definitely gave me a serious weird feeling I've never had before. Case answer file 1355. The radio mystery that left us speechless. Trying to calculate the odds of this as a purely coincidence. You'd have to know those two stations and their repertoire of available songs and then cross-reference based on your own pool of songs that you know in your head. That they have to overlap and your selection be exactly, precisely at the same time, the same verse, the same thing being said. We're talking about astronomical birth of single-cell life in the primordial pool a billion years ago. Odds. Pretty rare. I can't pretend to know what causes this exactly. I like to attribute it to knowledge floating in the air, but that's rather abstract. I have no concrete explanation for how you knew what was going to be played. But somehow your subconscious was fed this information or grabbed it. For what reason? Eludes me. Bonus file, written by SimSima76. My cat and daughter's incredible reincarnation saga. This is going to be a bit long and I tried to summarize, but I can't make it shorter without losing the message. I want to preface by saying that, for the most part, I was not completely convinced we could reincarnate because I had, what I thought, was a near-death experience once, and I personally didn't see any white light. I just went into absolute blackness. But that could have been because I was unconscious, not actually dead. What I'm trying to say is, I was not completely convinced in reincarnation up until this happened to me. My cat died last October. He was 19 years old, and he died of congestive heart failure. It was a devastating loss for me. I saw him as my son, especially after living with him for 20 years. I kept hoping and praying he would come to me in dreams, and for a whole year he didn't. About 3 weeks ago, I finally had a dream where I saw my old cat, and I told him that I loved him, and I hugged him, and we were hanging out like we used to. When I wake up, I'm all happy, and I go to tell my daughter that I had a dream with my cat. Not even 30 minutes later, this little black cat, about 6 months old, shows up at my back porch, and of course I knew this was not my cat, at least not then. The minute I let the cat into my house, he went straight for my bed, where he used to hang out, and he sat in the exact same place where he used to sit when he was younger. I can't explain it, except there's little things that he does, like looking for the litter box exactly where the litter box used to be. He also doesn't want to go to where his old body lays. Every time he walks around that area, he kind of runs away from it. He has the same habits as an older cat and understands so much more than a normal kitten. He's also really chill and calm, the same way that my old cat was, which is bizarre for a kitten his age. I know it could just be me projecting onto this little kitten, and I'm trying not to do that, but he keeps doing things that are really weird. He even answers to his old name, but right now I just call him Kitty for the most part, so I get it. But I'm not crazy. I'm fully aware of what I'm saying. I'm not in denial. I was fully at peace with the fact that my cat had passed away. I don't really have any more evidence than what I've stated. But he's not the only one that I think has reincarnated. When my daughter was 4 years old, she told me that I kept calling her name. And I said, What are you talking about? I was not calling your name. But my daughter's name is my grandmother's name. I knew this when I told her that, but I was trying to see what she would say. And she insisted that yes, I was calling her name and that's why she came. She said she was supposed to go to another planet, but instead, she came here to be with me. My teenage daughter has no recollection of ever saying this, but I wrote it down so I would never forget. When I asked her what that place was, she told me one thing which puts chills down my spine: the name Lavinia. I'd never heard that name come out of anybody's mouth before. The only time I'd ever heard that name was in a book with a ship named the USS Lavinia. I found the name so entrancing that all I remember about the book is that ship's name. I can't even find the book again. I've looked everywhere. It's almost as if it never existed. I read it one summer when I was 10 years old. So imagine me at 36 years old hearing my 4-year-old tell me that one name that had haunted me had never been heard in 26 years. Nobody today is named that. It's a name from the 1800s. And to me, that was a sign, because I knew that name was special to me, but I didn't know why. And apparently, Lavinia was the caretaker when she was in that other world. She called it the world of a lot of light. So no doubt that Lavinia is something of mine too, and that I will also see her when I pass. One last thing before this becomes an epic novel. If you're hurting because somebody that you lost has gone away, just know that there may be a way for them to come back. It won't be exactly the same, but there will be things that will let you know that it's them. I'm so happy now that my loved ones are back. It's been a beautiful experience and I hope the same for anyone reading this. Big cyber hug from me. Case notes for the bonus file. My cat and daughter's incredible reincarnation saga. This story reminds me of the episode in Friends where Phoebe believes her grandma is reincarnated into her. Soul sharing, you could say. If I had to guess, I think that's entirely possible. The idea of being possessed is well known. It's a malicious sharing. But what about cohabitation? It's like having a roommate. It's the difference between, say, a robber breaking into your home and a stranger being invited in. Or at least someone appearing and saying, yeah, can I stay? Yeah, sure, no problem. Reincarnation, though, it does make perfect sense. It's like reshuffling the deck, but it's still the same deck. Now time for the quote of the day. Love is a difficult realization that something other than oneself is real. Iris Murdoch. And I would add to this and not just say that someone else is real, but someone else matters as much as you do. You know, we have this when you have children too, I imagine, but it's the same principle. I think most people are inherently, to some extent, solipsistic, where we only care about ourselves when we think about ourselves, like main character syndrome. And it's hard to disconnect from that. To really appreciate that there are other people out there, and they have lives as rich as yours, and thoughts and terrors and everything that you can imagine, just as rich as yours, in different formats, sure. To find someone that you can truly, not just logically understand that, but empathize and truly believe that they matter as much as you do. Well, outside of immediate family, you just don't get that. It's finding that other piece of yourself. It's not just, I don't believe in a single soulmate. I think there's multiple people that would fit that bill for us. It's just a matter of finding them, and then you have that other piece of yourself. Hard to live without that, isn't it? Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.